Gold saying on X, "If you think all of these are jokes, you're in for a very bad time over the next 10 to 15 years."
Yeah, that one's really scary. I think at the same time, you know, a lot of the Roach Kings fans are going to be like, well, what he's saying is that, like, you've got to take this stuff seriously and the concerns of the Nazis, because, you know, it's really the wokeness that is creating them. So the problem here is the wokeness.
Slurs, Hitler praise, and rape jokes. In a chat they very much would not want you to see. And this, coming from Politico, who just released a massive report detailing the contents of a leaked Telegram chat that included leaders of young Republican groups across the country. And over the course of 7 months, these leaders, they exchanged some crazy texts. And the chat in question is called Restore YR War Room, and it was created by this guy, Peter Giunta, during his campaign to become chair of the Young Republican National Federation. Also, just something to mention here, because I've seen certain people characterizing the situation in a certain way that it is just not. The Young Republican National Federation is not like a group just for high school kids. This is the GOP's 15,000 member political organization for Republicans between 8.
Which, by the way, keep that in mind when you're seeing people like J.D. Vance being like, oh, come on, I don't really care what a couple of college kids are saying in their private group chats. We have bigger fish to fry. And it's like, you keep calling them kids. These are 30 to 40-year-olds in the most part, especially the ones who have been, like, you know, exposed to saying just straight up, like, you know, Hitler shit. I know maybe it's getting confusing because people are calling them Hitler Youth in the opposite direction, so maybe we should stop that. These adults, these grown men, many of whom are probably married and have mortgages, are saying some super racist ass shit, and I haven't seen any right-wingers condemning what they've been saying. They've just been getting mad at the snitch. Every single one of them is like, oh, this is bitch behavior. I can't believe fucking you're ratting each other out. This is why the GOP fails, because we always fucking turn on each other and all this kind of stuff. I mean, you know, it is glorious that all of you hate each other, clearly. I mean, again, when the foundational principles of your entire network are based on hatred, it's kind of obvious that at a certain point, y'all are going to turn on each other. Of course. I mean, fucking, it doesn't matter how Matt Walsh gets his pure Anglo-Saxon an organization, they're eventually going to turn on other whites. You know, at a certain point, y'all are going to need to keep being racist. You're just going to go racist towards other categories of white people. It's going to be Italians versus the Irish, you know, Irish versus Germans. It's just going to devolve into utter and complete nonsense. Everyone will turn on the Roma people.
18 and 40 years old. And in fact, many of the people included in the chat already held positions within the government or party politics. And that includes one who's actually a state senator. Now, as far as the chat mixed in with formal conversations about social media strategy, logistics, and earning votes, were comments from Giunta like, if your pilot is a she and she looks 10 shades darker than someone from Sicily, just end it there. Scream the no-no word. With him also appearing to respond to a question about watching an NBA playoff game with, I'd go to the zoo if I wanted to watch monkey play ball. And at one point it appeared that he made a comment about loving Hitler and saying that anyone voting against his bid for leadership of the Young Republican National Federation, quote, is going to the gas chamber. And adding, I'm going to create some of the greatest physiological torture methods known to man. We only want true believers. But it also wasn't just Giunta saying off-the-wall shit. And so you had people like Joe Maligno, who previously identified himself as the general counsel for the New York State Young Republicans, responding to that last comment from Giunta by saying, can we fix the showers? Gas chambers don't fit the Hitler aesthetic. Also, at one point, the chair of the Arizona Young Republicans, Luke Mosselman, told the chat, quote, the Spanish came to America and had sex with every single woman, with him then responding to someone else's comment that sex is gay with, quote, sex, it was rape. And to that, you had Bobby Walker, the vice chair of the New York State Young Republicans at the time, responding by saying, epic. Right, and all of this, it's in the midst of a lot of slurs, right, including slurs about Black and Hispanic people, as well as the LGBTQ plus community. With, for example, William Hendricks, the Kansas Young Republicans vice chair, being specifically called out for using variations of the N-word more than a dozen.
Sex is gay? Well, yeah, if you're an incel. I mean, that's pretty fucking calling cardish. I have seen some pretty ruthless jokes coming out against a lot of these individuals. I didn't say this. Someone wrote, he's using homophobic slurs while looking like a butch lesbian. It's crazy. I mean, you know, people are talking.
Times. And again, like, this is just a bit. Politico reports that this goes on for roughly 2,900 pages. Right? And all of this is, it seems like the people involved were aware that what they were saying was deeply, deeply controversial. Right? According to Politico, there were occasionally messages about how toxic the chat was and what the fallout would be if anyone outside of their group were to read it. Or with Walker at point explicitly saying, if we ever had a leak of this chat, we would be cooked. And it appears he may be right, though. To what degree, we'll see. Because the fallout from this chat, even just a day after Politico's article went up, it's been substantial. Hell, at one point, Politico noted in the article that since they began making inquiries into this story, one member of the group already lost their job and another had a job offer rescinded. But also, since its publication, both Joe Maligno and Peter Giunta, they've been removed from their positions. There have also been calls for the state senator in the chat to resign, and the Kansas Young Republicans was disbanded by the state GOP. And we've also
there is some bar. I'm shocked.
seen demands for all the people involved to resign from Young Republicans, and that includes from the organization itself. You had the Young Republicans National Federation putting out a statement on X saying, "Such behavior is disgraceful, unbecoming of any Republican, and stands in direct opposition to the..."
Oh, this is why like the Matt Walshes and the Tim Pools are getting so angry, because there was actually some repercussions. Because Matt Walsh is just like, not just Matt Walsh, by the way, like a lot of right-wing pundits are just like losing their shit right now, just being like, this is disgrace. You never apologize, never back down, never give in to the woke mob. It's like the woke mob. These people are like celebrating rape and praising Hitler. Like, we're not in like, oh, I by the way, I want to bring up a microaggression. I don't believe you should be using these terms. I believe that they actually can constitute forms of triggering certain. No, Jesus Christ. These people are openly praising Hitler and saying every slur fucking known to man, and even some new ones. Like, what are we doing here?
values our movement represents. Those involved must resign immediately from all positions within their state and local Young Republican organizations. We must hold ourselves to the highest standards of integrity, respect, and professionalism. We then also saw Republican leaders on the national level chiming in, quickly condemning the chat and the people in it. We had a senior advisor for Representative Elise Stefanik, who had previously applauded Giunta's leadership, saying that she was, quote, absolutely appalled to learn about the alleged comments made, and adding, according to the description provided by Politico, the comments were heinous, anti-Semitic, racist, and unacceptable. If the description by Politico is accurate, Congresswoman Stefanik calls for any New York Young Republicans responsible for these horrific comments in this chat to step down immediately. You also had Representative Mike Lawler saying something similar in his own statement, saying the deeply offensive and hateful comments reportedly made in a private chat among members of the New York State Young Republicans are disgusting, saying they should resign from any leadership position immediately and reflect on how far they have strayed.
I'm not going to scroll down because I think it's a little too spicy for the things that I could potentially show on stream. But Milo Yiannopoulos, if you didn't know, who is a very straight heterosexual man who is very much into heterosexual sex with obviously women, said this: only in Arizona could this Oompa Loompa body-ass bitch sleep with over 500 men and also be in charge of the Young Republicans, which Charlotte Perez here used to be until sanity prevailed. And you'll never believe this, but when you click on this link, it's actually lots and lots of right-wingers being like, my dude, Wood. Wait, Milo, you're straight, right? What's going on here? Like, yeah. yeah, getting me honest here, Milo. Would too. Yeah. I was just like, oh shit, Milo, you didn't understand. Sorry, but he's still working on it. It's a process, all right? Like, I don't know if you understand the whole story of Milo Yiannopoulos, but he had to basically reject his homosexuality. He had what he called a sodomy stone attached to his hand, which was his wedding ring with his partner. His ex-husband, he actually still lives with as his roommate now in a totally heterosexual life situation in which they do not engage in homosexual sex with one another, okay? They don't even have to give in to temptation because now they're both so heterosexual, and it's done wonders, I guess, for his career in rebounding and getting to be allowed back into right-wing circles. It's just every now and then he'll tweet something out where people will be like, what? Like, I not too long ago, Milo tweeted out this picture of like a snake's mouth and being like, this is why the vagina is like such a serpent, a dangerous creature looking to destroy men. And then like every right-winger, including Alex Jones, was like, you better call that a flower. It's a beautiful thing. How dare you disparage? I was like, oh no, the straights are getting mad. Milo, you've gone too far. Quickly, you gotta get a little bit more hetero, my dude. Just make some posts of some titties or something and be like, I love breast things. They're fun to hold and or touch. May we all get to hold one day and enjoy their pleasure. You know, you gotta do something
from basic human respect and decency. And that sentiment was also echoed by others, including New York Governor Kathy Hochul and Vermont Governor Phil Scott. But that is not to say that everyone's on the same page here. Or you had Vice President J.D. Vance, for example, notably not condemning the chat and its participants, and instead drawing a comparison to Jay Jones, who's a candidate for Attorney General in Virginia, with him sharing a screenshot of Jones acknowledging he'd previously said he hoped the children of the former Republican Virginia House Speaker.
I saw other big right-wing celebrities like Kevin Sorbo. You know Kevin Sorbo. He posted a picture again of that tragedy me where a woman was murdered on a bus, and the picture of it, and then being like, I don't care about the leaked messages when this happened. And I was like, how are these two things related? Because I have yet to see a single person on the other end of this issue be like, that was a good thing that a woman randomly was stabbed to death on a bus. I actually haven't seen that at all. Not one time, in fact. So wait, you don't care about Ukrainians. You don't care about mental health services. This happened in a red state. How are these two things related? Why are you posting one thing and being like, this made me mad, so I don't care that there's a bunch of Hitlerites running amongst us? It's like, yeah, we know.
Speaker would die, with Vance saying this is far worse than anything said in a college group chat, and the guy who said it could become the AG of Virginia. I refuse to join the pearl clutching when powerful people call for political violence. Right, you also had some coming.
Sorry, can I see the text? I haven't read it. You weren't simply asking questions and you know it. I genuinely was. I wasn't attacking you. I was trying to understand your logic. You weren't trying to understand. You were talking about hoping Jennifer Gilbert's children, hoping Jennifer Gilbert's children would die. Yes, I've told you this before. Only when people feel pain personally do they move on policy. This is what you're equating to people being like, rape is epic and it's a good thing that a bunch of people got raped by colonizers. And all right, JD.
When powerful people call for political violence. Right, you also had some coming to the defense of Gunta and friends here, saying that this is all clearly sarcasm, or at least a lot is. Or with many.
And then I saw someone posted this, Thomas Hearn. Disgusting commentary from Jennifer Welsh on MSNBC. Really? What did she say that was so disgusting?
He is married to a woman of Indian descent.
Yes.
He has mixed race children.
Yes.
So to all of the MAGA voters out there, if this man will not defend his wife and will not defend his kids, do you think he gives a crap about you or anything to do with you? He is married.
That's disgusting. She's right. She's 100% right. Absolutely. Yeah. He's like way more willing to defend white supremacists and Nazis than he is his own children and wife. Yeah, that's shameful behavior. Honestly, very beta male shit. Not what a man should be doing. Like, who gives a fuck what Nazis think? They're fucking Nazis.
Specifically pointing to Gunta's Hitler comment, saying that it's a clear response to Democrats calling those on the right Nazis and referring to Trump as the new Hitler. And so you had super conservative commentators like Matt Walsh saying, if you actually...
Wait, but that's what J.D. Vance said. J.D. Vance called Trump America's Hitler. That's an actual quote. He was questioned about that on Fox. You said some pretty terrible things about, Donald Trump in the past, and I'll just read them out now. You said this. You called him America's Hitler. Yes, well, I mean, we all make inflammatory statements in the heat of the moment, but I'm now here to say that I praise him and I think he's perfect.
Read the Politico hit piece, you'll see that many of the messages are being taken wildly out of context.
The irony, ironic bigotry is like ironically saying cool beans. It's only ironic until you realize you've accidentally programmed yourself to saying it unironically. Well, yeah, but it also shows you exactly where their priorities lie, right? Like I've said this before, if you have someone who's horrifying starting to praise you, that's bad. If you are amongst friends and it turns out those friends are Nazis and you don't think that that's disgusting and you don't want to get rid of that Nazi in your group, then it's a group of Nazis. Ultimately. And then if you are willing to come forward multiple times, by the way, it's not the first time that people have openly said very racist things towards either, groups of people that he happens to be either married to or in love with or has children. They've also had moments where people have explicitly said very racist things towards his wife or directed them at his wife and his kids. And he's always just downplayed it. Been like, look, I know everyone here wants me to do a whole cancellation of a couple of college kids. I think some of them were on the staff of like the whole Doge team, when it got revealed that like the Doge staffers were actually super hardcore groyper racists and they were saying all kinds of racist shit about him. Instead of defending his wife or standing up for her or his kids, he defended white supremacy. He actually has more loyalty to defending and upholding white supremacy than he does his own family. That's just like, that's not a man you can trust, obviously. It's just, he's not a man. Unfortunately, he's been gelded by white supremacy.
For example, the guy who said, "I love Hitler" was clearly being sarcastic. It's explicitly meant to be a sarcastic joke. He was saying, "Yeah, I'm so right-wing, I guess I love Hitler." Basic sarcasm of a kind deployed by right-wingers all the time. "I have theocratic fascist in my bio." Again, Politico made this the headline of the piece. Fundamentally dishonest, nobody on the right should be giving it any credibility. Though then, you had no shortage of people pushing back against this idea that many or any of those comments were meant as jokes. And that includes big creators in the space who you might have thought would land somewhere else, or you were unsure where they'd land on this topic, like Asmongold saying on X. If you think all of these are jokes, you're in for a very bad time over the next 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, that one's really scary. I think at the same time, a lot of the Roach King's fucking fans are going to be like, well, what he's saying is that, like, you got to take this stuff seriously and the concerns of the Nazis because, it's really the wokeness that is creating them. So the problem here is the wokeness. Because I've seen his rationale when it comes to other instances like this, when it came to, like, the problem with, the far right rising in Germany and his review of that video. His eventual call out came in the form of the high rates of immigration and saying that, like, well, I mean, Germany is supposed to be Germany for the Germans. And what do you think is going to happen when you suddenly have a large amount of people who are coming in trying to change the culture of the society? You're going to get pushback. And so, again, it's kind of a victim-blaming mentality. You see the same thing with, like, a lot of the, post Roe v. Wade, when Nick Fuentes was like, your body, my choice forever kind of bullshit. There was a lot of, like, very prominent, neo-Nazi, Groyper, far-right incel accounts being like, you created me. You made me, all right? I was raised in an environment where you told me that men were inherently toxic and evil, where you came into our spaces, into our Discord groups and our gamer streams, and I just wanted to enjoy a thing, and you took away my birthright and all of this. It's like, you could just tell the level of brain poison that they've been fed, these weird-ass versions of how the world works. Now they're just playing it out as if they're somehow, things are being taken from them because they were owed. They were owed. Like that is like a core tenet of incel ideology, right? In that women are depriving you of sex. You're an involuntary celibate. You could even be good looking. That doesn't matter. It's women who are taking it from you. And that again, it plays into it as a very, obviously rapist kind of mentality of how to view the world. But that's why a lot of them then lash out in this kind of like, but my birthright was stolen from me. Similar with white supremacy, by the way. White supremacists have this weird fucked up version that there's a hierarchy to the races, and that because they were born of a lacking of melanin, suddenly they have the ability to be dominant over the other races, and that our birthright was enshrined in the colonizers and the Spanish conquistadors who arrived on the shores and brought civilization to this land and all this kind of bullshit. It's like, my dude, come on, you're a phone call operator, all right? Like you're not a conquistador or a descendant of conquistadors simply not being able to live out your birthright.
Thank you so much to our patrons for making this show possible. We could not fund it without you. And if you want to join, please check out patreon.com/theserfs to unlock bonus episodes, uncensored content, and all the good stuff. Thanks to Anna Loves Riley, Addercap, Bobby Lasers, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Hegbard Salim, Multimondi, Omni, Political Papi, Preston Kroll, Quiet 185, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demmel, Tigwick, and Words Greenwood.